succinctly, exactly like that. But I want to start because it's you could say a conclusion to yesterday's discussion where the different aspects of the administration was, how you say, brought up. And so some doubts that, of application of that practical. So two nice questions were asked on that about organization, keeping Krishna in the center. The question is 24, 25. So 24, Srila Prabhupada said that organization and intelligence will make ISKCON successful. What does this organization mean? So these are very good questions here. So the point is when we're saying about management and organization is not the primary aspect, is because it's not. It's supporting the primary, which is Krishna consciousness. Point is if we forget that, then we would try to manage, and we forget that actually you're managing Krishna consciousness. Like if you in a meeting, someone's been talking this, that, and if you say, how does that go connect to Krishna? It'd be, oh, of course it connects to Krishna. It's obvious. Or why you're bringing that up? We're being practical here. We're being professional here. That's the whole thing. So it'd be like this. Let us say we bring in a real professional manager in the kitchen. And he manages everything, and it's all about management. So he doesn't like the cooks to take the pots because they make them dirty. And then after made dirty, you have to wash them like that. Then they have to be put back and all that. So he's always, do we need that? Do we have to do that? Why should we do that? Can't you cook in a smaller pot? Or do you need to cook in a pot at all? And just like that, you get, okay, we need to get these things. Oh, no, but then the vegetables, they go bad and all that. It's really hard to keep them and all that. So, can't we just have dried things? So we'll just get dried vegetables. Those will keep for a long time. So everything is just nicely in bottles, everything like that. Then, if you go off, you don't put the lid back on. It's all about that. And it's not about the cooking. So then you could say, yeah, it's a perfectly managed kitchen, but it doesn't really produce much cooking or any cooking at all. That's what we're meaning. So the point is, this management is extremely important, right? In other words, I'm saying this about management to managers. I'm not saying this to other people. And if other people are not managers start going, oh, we don't need management, it's just like, that's nonsense. Point is, as Prabhupada said, organization intelligence will make ISKCON successful. That's the whole point. Means, what are we organizing? We're organizing devotional, direct activities of devotional service. We're saying that hearing and chanting, taking prasad, worshiping the deity, association with devotees, living in the Dham, these are going on. That's what you're organizing, because you can do that yourself. But if we want to do it in a grand way with a lot of people, then you have to organize it. So that's the important point, is yes, so you must have organized, but you have to understand is you're organizing direct activities of devotional service. So if you don't know what is direct activities of devotional service, why are you the manager? Or you can be the manager under someone who does understand this, and you just do what they say. So you're a manager, not an administrator. Because you have to understand within administration, the leadership, that's the administrators. The guys who just manage particular things, they're not, they're just the system. And then 25, how are we doing mistake of keeping administration in the center, not Krishna in practical terms? I think we just gave examples there. Is that it'll be about, let's say like some zones, they stopped doing Hari Nam, or devotees dressing in devotee clothes because managerially it created problem for them. Because social status, they didn't want to be seen as just, guys that are out on the street begging, right? Because, in the success of an organization, the beginning is panhandling or going out on the street, and the end is that people just giving donations of their, inheritance and everything like that. And, then trusts and all things like that. So we want to be prestigious because we're doing it for Krishna. So you want to do this, so we stop Hari Nam. That's nonsense. So the whole point is that you have to see the devotional organization has to be supporting devotional service, not the other way around. Okay, is that clear? So then, if that's the case, then let's move back to question 1. Who's asking the questions? Anyone's asking the questions? No one's asking the questions.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, just saying, the first question in the list what we have got. In Brahmacharya ashram, after spending many years, our menial services reduces and we have more freedom. What do other services of taking care of finances, construction, management, fund collection for the temple, is it okay?
Is it okay? Of course it's okay. Because who are you doing the service for? Who are you doing the service for? You know, right? The service is for serving Krishna directly. Means it's directly his service. It's not your service. Not that you're running a construction company or you're running an accountancy or you're running, some, systems management firm or something like that. And so you come in, do all these things for the temple and you're getting your profits and all your benefits. And then of course, as a devotee, you give some to Krishna. Here, you're directly doing the things for Krishna. So therefore, then it's still brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means if you take it from the modern concept of prestige, that see, I've been around, I'm doing this, so I'm a better brahmacharya than everybody else. That's where the mistake comes up. That's where the weakness will come up. But of course, it's naturally whoever has, because when you come into the movement, everybody is the same. They're all spaced out, don't know what's going on. Then with time, as you get purified, then the individual kind of ability and nature and commitment comes out. Then you can see the uniqueness of each one's, focus, and then they can be engaged in particular activities to push on the movement. So that's why you see is the impersonalist philosophy is bogus, because otherwise everyone would come different and then with time become the same. But we see devotees, all new bhaktas are basically the same, but as they mature, the older they get, the more unique they get. So it's the other way around. So of course you're going to engage if someone has that administrative ability or can run construction, these are very important. Otherwise, who's going to do it? But you always have to remember it's just to please Krishna. So it's just another menial service. Menial service means it's not for you, right? The house servant is a menial servant. Why? He's cleaning your house for you. He's not cleaning it for himself. So the whole point is as long as we understand we're doing this to please Krishna, what does it matter? Okay, next question.
When we take services from the congregation devotees in the form of money, services in department, facilities, grains, vegetable, etc., we feel obliged to the householders. Our brahmachari life becomes obliged to others. Our social life increases. What should I do?
So this is another same point as the first one. The brahmacharis are doing services, they're going to people's houses, doing programs and other things like that are nice. That they're just doing it under the authority of the temple. So it's not a job, it's not an occupation in that way. So when the grihastas give something back, they want to give something to the brahmacharis, give something to the temple. That's being given for Krishna. It means serving. You're serving the Vaishnava Seva. So you shouldn't be thinking it's for you. It's for the temple. Now, if it's something they give you a gumsha or a dhoti and that, and the temple has a policy, they give you a dhoti. You go to the program, they give you a dhoti. You can have the dhoti, but they've given it to the temple, and the temple has then given it to you. So where's the obligation? On that way, on the social platform. But on the other platform that the grihastas are maintaining and they're serving and assisting and all that, of course, as we're obliged to Vaishnavas. Why we're making the distinction that, they're grihastas. As grihastas, they do this service. As brahmacharis, you do another. As vanaprastha is different. As sannyasi is different. So the point is that everyone is serving according to their capacity. So therefore, Jiva Doya, Vaishnav Seva and Namaruchi, that everybody's doing it, but according to their capacity. Just like in the kitchen, let's say it's a program, you're doing a big program, like let's say, you're cooking for some feast, Govardhan Puja or something. So whoever's best at cooking the rice, they cook the rice. Whoever's best at the puris, they do that. Whoever's best at the pakoras, they do that. Whoever's best at the puris, whoever's best at this subji or that subji or making the drink or the sweet rice, everybody does according to capacity. It's not that, because he cooked the sweet rice, now we're obliged to him. And no, it's just everybody works according to capacity. It means you're not obliged, they're serving Krishna. Why do you think it's about you? They gave this dhoti because you are so fabulous. No, they appreciate the Vaishnavas and it's directed for you. It's a personal movement, but that doesn't mean that you're the center of attention. It's for Krishna. It's Krishna's program. They appreciate Krishna. They appreciate Krishna's devotees, so they're serving. So what's this obligation? And yeah, you have social. You have to be nice. You can't be, how you say, Unsociable. If you want to be unsociable, you move to the forest. You know, we have temples, they're right there, and the temples are generally in the center of the community. Why? Because the community then focuses there. We're simply servants of Krishna. It's Krishna. They're respecting Krishna and his temple and his devotees. And so we, as a servant, we are just carrying that out. People come in, we greet them, we take them through. You say it's social, but you're doing that on behalf of Krishna. Krishna would greet everybody as they come in, right? So it's not there, just like Krishna took all the shoes at the Rajasuya sacrifice, you know, and then Nakul and Sahadev, and everybody was greeted and then sat down. You know, Bhima, then he did all the cooking for arrangements and that. Vidura took care of the treasury, you know, accounting that. Duryodhana took care of receiving all the goods. Does that mean it's theirs? No, it's Yudhishthir's. So the same way, if someone comes to the temple, you greet them, you speak nicely according to etiquette and sit them down, get them prasad, whatever it is that you're doing like that. It's not you. So you're not obliged. You're doing that on behalf of Krishna. You're representing Krishna. Okay, next question.
Maharaj, we heard you have a 25-second test for Varna. Can you please elaborate on that?
Varna means that you're performing an activity and you have to function in a particular way. So now we have 3 features in the Varnashram. Means you have the leaders and you have the followers, right? So leaders are in the way of knowledge and education, in administration, or in economics, right? And so you're either able to know what they are and take part in that and making it work like that, or you're assisting those who know how to do that. Got it?
Yes, Maharaj.
Right. In other words, if you're an MBA, you assist those who know how to make money. Does that make sense?
Yes, Maharaj.
You know accounting, you assist those who know how to do that leadership. Or you're a leader, but it doesn't mean you're not following other leaders. You know, you can head up the Sankirtan, but it doesn't mean you don't work under the president. Doesn't mean the president doesn't work under the GBC. GBC works under Prabhupada. Prabhupada works under the previous acharyas, headed by Rupa Goswami. Like that. So, in other words, it's really straightforward. It's just that we don't want it to be that simple. Next question.
Maharaj, someone who is in ashram, is there a category that brahmachari can also be brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, or shudra nature?
That means they may be from that kind of background, but as a brahmachari, they're acting in the brahminical capacity because they're focusing on Brahman, right? That's why all Vaishnavas are considered brahmana as a minimum in social stats, because they're all focused on Brahman. Whether they have the occupational duties means the Varna aspect of the Brahman. In other words, there is the spiritual aspect of the Brahman everyone has. Then you see is with the brahmachari, what are they good at? Can they lead up the preaching, the teaching, you know, education, the deity worship, or other things like that? Then you would say that's the more Brahminical kind of aspect. If it's more of an administration, they may have that background. They're more good at, you know, things that deal with money and raising funds and inspiring people that are dealing with the funds. Then it can be in that capacity, right? Or if they're just good at assisting others, because you can. So the point is the Brahmin can know, he can be, Prabhupada said Brahmin can learn anything, teach anything. So he may know accounts very good. I know one devotee, you know, excellent at accounts, but he's very Brahminical. And so you show him one of these big monster spreadsheets, you know, these huge ones, you know, like that. He'll just take the whole thing, go, what's that? You know, or he'll look at it and go, okay, good. I'm not exaggerating here. So, but he's Brahminical. So he can deal with money and the temple money and how to spend the money and do all kinds of fabulous things, but he can't make money for himself much. You know, he can put in somebody, just can't get into making it for himself. He knows what to do. He can tell you what to do. So Brahman can know, like Dronacharya, he's teaching everyone the martial sciences. But you see, it's more on that side, is you have to see the underlying, how their behavior and this and that, if you want to get that exact. But for brahmacharis, it doesn't really matter. The point is you just know the field. Are you working more in the in the Brahminical elements? Are you working more in the Kshatriya, more in the Vaishya? You know, whether you're leading it or following it, it doesn't matter. You just see which areas you're in. And everybody is going to be doing service for Krishna. So that, as we said, it establishes one as Brahminical. But within that, the finer points on, you know, does he do, you know, does he do an artik now and again, or does he do artik 6 times a day? That's going to be by nature. You know, everybody can offer an artik because they're devotees. But you're going to see is that, but to do that day in, day out, every day, that means you have to have that ability, that nature. Okay, next. Hello.
Hare Krishna, Yugal Shampro, you need to ask question.
Yeah, I know, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Maharaj, what if someone is in Brahmacharya ashram, but due to previous bad habits, he's breaking principles, still want to remain in Brahmacharya ashram? How he should come up to follow?
Okay, I mean, you have 2 aspects here. Means you're going to be the aspect of one has to purify the heart, because why is one, if one breaks principles, that's because of material desire, right? Material desire is there because we haven't addressed that, or we're, you know. So the point is this material desire, what is it we're gaining from it? What is it we're looking for in this? What is it we expect to get? And so then by expecting to get something, that's what we're looking for. That's coming from Krishna, right? If it makes us happy, because Krishna is happiness, he's Anandamaya, you know, like that. And so we're attracted by that aspect. It's coming through this medium, but the medium isn't actually the real thing, right? So the medium is not the message, right? So we have to understand is that potency comes from Krishna. That's why Krishna gives, you know, 3 chapters in Gita explaining how he pervades everything, and it's him. But the point is it's him by his potencies, but he as a person is separate. So we're following the 4 regulative principles because that pleases Krishna as a person, right? But these regulative principles are controlled by his energies. And so then you deal with the energies properly. This is what you get. You don't, you get another, you get, it doesn't work out nicely. So therefore, by keeping good association, by reading, by trying to understand, by surrendering to Krishna, by taking advantage, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, it's by his grace that you become free from all material desire. You please Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda is pleased, and because you please Nityananda is pleased, you give up material desire. Because you give up material desire, now you can see, appreciate, and understand the Dham. And then by further serving the spiritual master, and that then we please the 6 Goswamis, and then by pleasing them, then we can understand Radha and Krishna's pastimes. So this just controlling the senses, that's just the negative side of it. The positive side of it is why? Because then you can actually understand the transcendental realm and understand Radha and Krishna's pastimes. Otherwise, if your senses are engaged somewhere else, it's a problem. That's one aspect. So that's how to connect that, how to purify. The other is we want to be a brahmachari. Why? We have to see, is it because we see the superiority of being a brahmachari at this particular time? It's the best thing for us to do, you know, by the age or by how much we know or this and that, or by nature, that's the best thing to do. Or are we looking at it as a prestige thing? Oh, brahmacharis, because we're the cat's meow and everybody else is the nonsense. And so therefore you want to be the best, right? And the other aspect is that, is it out of laziness? We don't want to get married because it's too much trouble. So in Krishna in the Gita explains that's renunciation in the mode of passion, right? It's trouble. And so therefore you'd rather put the time into devotional service. There you go. So therefore, if he doesn't want to get married, but you see the guy's lazy, then you know it's that. Or if it's a matter of its prestige and all that, and he always says, you know, this and that, like the temple president tells you, hey, he's been waiting for you to ask the question for the last 30 seconds. And then you bunt in and go, well, I know. It's like that. But if you knew, why didn't you ask the question when the question was asked to be asked? That's false ego. Just saying. Okay, so you have to see why. And if it's a matter of, yes, it's best to be a brahmachari at this class, even if you want to get married, still you need to be trained as a brahmachari. Then being trained as a brahmachari, then you could be a good grihastha, like that. Or it's just a matter of, no, you see the superiority of that, but because of the impurities of past lives and that, it's a bit of a trip. So it's going to take a little while to get purified enough where we can be properly situated as a brahmachari and stay in that position. It's just a matter of being honest and seeing what's the best position. Next question.
Isn't the fact that most members in Kali Yuga are so weak that they can't control their senses, thus they can't follow the principles of Varnashram? How one can come to the standard of following Varnashram when Kali Yuga people are so degraded to not control their senses?
Yes, so that's a very important question, because basically speaking is being below the Varnashram system is the standard kind of issue, right? So, because it said everyone's born Shudra. Now, why? Prabhupada mentions why people in this Kali Yuga are born Shudra is because they don't use Garbhodhan Samskar. Now, if your parents use Garbhodhan Samskar and they practice their particular Varna, then yes, you'll be born within that Varna. But the point is even if they are Brahmins, if they didn't use Garbhodhan Samskar, then you're born as a Shudra. And so now you take advantage of that, move up to the position of a Brahmin, or you can, become degraded and follow Bollywood and go to McDonald's and end up as lower than Shudra. So it's a matter of what you do with it. So now what's going to create this dynamic development? And that is simply devotional service. Pure devotional service is the drive for this. By devotional service, we become qualified to follow Pancharatra. By Pancharatra, we become qualified to function in capacity within the Varnashram. So that's how, so it's not an ascending process, it's a descending. That's our line. So by following the Bhagavat, then you can follow the Pancharatric. By the Pancharatric, then you're able to follow Varnashram. So that's how it works. So the more you focus on the direct activities of devotional service, the more you'll be able to regulate your life with the Pancharatra, and the more then you'll be able to actually follow these details of Varnashram. Next question.
Maharaj, many a times we see our natures are mixed, like we see just is what is core of one Varna, and we have that. But we have some bad qualities of other Varna, just like Varna Sankara. How should we purify ourselves? Like a Brahmanical person may be a bit lazy.
Okay, but those aren't necessarily from another Varna, because bad qualities aren't how you say, core quality of any of the Varnas, because we have to remember the Varnashram means humans. So that means anyone within Varnashram, even the Shudra, they're elevated. So from the modern standpoint, basically, if you want to look, see the social status and all that, Shudra, for most of us, we'd have to look up to see, so we can see the bottom of the feet of the Shudras, like that. So the point is that Shudra is human. He's just general human. In other words, what you see on the street, that's Shudras. Because the Vaishyas are sitting in their shop and they get out in their car and go by in the tinted windows. Kshatriyas are sitting in their place in the administration and all that. Brahmins, and they're in the schools and that, you don't generally see them out on the streets. So what you're seeing, the public, that's generally going to be Shudras. So that's the people, that's the citizens. So that's the general populace. Now, that's there. They need leaders. Why? They need knowledge, they need to be organized, and they need money. And so there's leaders of these three. And so they, in other words, the Vaishyas lead and make all the money. But the point is, without administration, they'll make it money at the expense of the common people. So the government has to control that. And then the government may control everyone for what's best for that. That means they have to be controlled by the knowledge, by the Shastra, by the Brahmins. The Brahmins have to be controlled by pure devotional service. So if you see there's a core thing, you say is like this example is Brahminical, but there's laziness, that's just impurity. So the core thing is Brahminical, but there's still some ignorance or passion. And so because of that, like you were saying before, this fighting over who's in charge and who's this and who's in control, this would be some passion, like that. If it's a matter of everyone's trying to be and like this, if it's a matter of you don't like and you're fighting against, that's ignorance. So it's just a matter of, by the devotional process, by hearing and chanting, by associating with devotees, by doing your service and trying to, function without that, doing that service without attachment to the results. It's for Krishna, like Naishkarmya. Then you see very quickly you become freed from all these kinds of things. You have to be aware so that you try to avoid it, but it's not a separate endeavor than direct devotional service that's going to get rid of it. Right? And if you see it's mixed and there's two different things, then you see where do those points apply. So if you have, let's say, like Brahminical and Vaishya, then yeah, in money and all that, you can deal in that. But then when it comes to other things, when you're doing Brahminical, you don't think about money. You don't merge the two. So in other words, you don't try to open a school that you make tons of money off of. I remember one Marwari devotee, his brother wasn't a devotee, started a school, big school, right? They're businessmen. He started a school. And this was back in the 80s. So at that day, you had to spend, I think it was 2 lakhs or something under the table just to get your kid into the school. And then it was some ridiculous amount of money per month. So it was amazing money the guy was making. So that's the problem. He's a Vaishya. He's taking advantage of these things. So you don't want to mix the things. When you're doing Brahminical activities, it's Brahminical. When you're doing Vaishya, it's Vaishya. And so it's a bit of a trouble, but at least you can separate them. Next question, please.
Joining Brahmacharya ashram at age of 25 and getting training for 20 years and then entering Grihastha ashram, is this the right application?
It's the right application for the age, because technically you should have joined the Gurukul at 5. So 20 years would make you 25, and then you get married at that time. That's the recommended time. And then, around 50, then you pull back from that. But the point is if you're starting at 25, then it's going to take you time to get trained. And so getting married at 45 is not ideal, but better late than never, because what's your alternative? Because if that need is there to go through the Grihastha ashram, then what are you going to do? You're just going to sit around and be grumpy the rest of your life because you wanted to get married, but you're too late and this and that. And so then you just are snarky all the time. No, you get married. It's not ideal, but at least he'll be a good Grihastha, right? And like that, you're basically look at it more like, especially at that age, it'd be more like almost like moving into Vanaprastha. So you shouldn't get too much into becoming the Lord of all you survey, but just what comes naturally and easily, and keep your focus on Krishna. So it's going to be individual on how it works, like that. But yeah, it's not ideal, but you have to deal with it. So everything's set back 20 years. So yeah, but you want to remove the material desire. The purpose of Grihastha ashram is to come to the point where you don't need Grihastha ashram. So as a brahmachari, if you already understood that and realized that, then great, you save yourself the time. But if not, Grihastha ashram is the perfect ashram for removing all that material desire. And having removed that, then you're situated. Now that's why Vanaprastha is there, and that's sannyas. Okay, next question.
Sometimes we hear from senior devotees that the best thing is to be a brahmachari. And if one is unable to control his senses, then he should go for a Grihastha ashram. Somewhere innately, I get a feeling that brahmachari is the ideal ashram and Grihastha is like a support for those who are weak. How to deal and overcome with this idea?
See, the point is it's a matter of, are we individuals or not? And is it just a social status or not? If it's just like this, let us say everyone goes to the doctor, right? 10 people go to the doctor, right? They might get 10 different, prescriptions. So the whole point is if we're an individual, it's whatever is the position that's best for that individual. In other words, if somebody is very comfortable brahmacharya ashram and goes through that his whole life and all that, that's very nice. But what does that mean? It means he already did the Grihastha ashram thing last life or the lives before, until now he's been able to just function in that capacity. So the point is if you did it last life or you do it this life, what does it matter as long as you get accomplished it? Does it matter if someone's a Sarup Siddhi or a Nitya Siddha or a Kripa Siddha, does it matter? Once you come to the platform of prema, does it matter? So therefore, why is brahmacharya? Because it's just the easiest. You're always engaged in direct devotional service. So it's not that brahmacharya is the best. Direct devotional service is the best. So therefore, brahmachari, he has more time for more direct activities. I mean, at least he has the option. He can always make it all into secondary by, being worried about his position, his authority, and his facilities and all that. But the point is the natural position of the brahmachari is, it's all mostly direct activities of devotional service. It's either the preaching or taking care of Krishna's temple, or deity worship, or that. It's all connected directly with those things. So that it becomes in that way the best. Does that make sense? So therefore, that's why it's recommended. Grihastha ashram means you have to include a lot of secondary things, because the dealings with the family and the children and the money and the house and mortgage and your car and all these kinds of stuff, this is all secondary. And so because of that, then you have to worry about these things. It's like the brahmachari, he gets into whatever vehicle is there that the temple has and goes to the program. But like the grihastha, he has to worry about what kind of vehicle he has, because when he shows up at the place, the people that are there where he shows up, they'll judge him by his car, right? So one devotee had moved to Bombay, business person. And he was used to living in a, big place. They lived in bungalows and stuff like that. So he got himself a big place in Bombay, and he got himself a little car, like a Wagon R or something, one of these little ones. Because one is that, it doesn't cost much money, less on petrol, so economic, but also it gets around town easy, you can park it. And so he was just looking at the practical. Then some other devotee from Bombay said, hey, that people are going to see your car and they're going to judge you on that. And that's not going to work so nicely necessarily on your business, depending on what you're doing. At least in the area he was, they would judge. Something else, it doesn't matter. And so they said, you should get a better car, just because it'll make business go better. But he says, but I don't have enough money, for doing both, the car, because I just started. He says, but get a smaller house. No one will see your house. No one knows you live in a huge place like that. So he didn't like that. So he moved back to where he was from. So he had his big apartment. I think now, after making enough money, now he's back in Bombay. So he has his big apartment and his nice car. But the point is that you see what works. That's all. You have to deal with all these funny little things as a grihastha. That's why it's not as ideal. But if you have a material desire to engage, there's no better ashram than grihastha, because it has the widest range of things you can engage. Brahmachari is very narrow, And so then, but grihastha, that's very wide. It's just like you can't say how wide it is, because somebody it's into his cars, somebody it's his house, somebody it's his clothes, somebody it's his money, somebody it's the social scene, somebody it's what he eats, somebody it's the restaurants, somebody it's the vacations, or that. So like this, and not everybody has each one, whatever it is, you can. But as a brahmachari, how do you deal with that? So in other words, what's the best medicine for that? So is that cold medicine's the best medicine? Therefore, if you have a fever, take cold medicine. You have a bad stomach, cold medicine. You have a runny nose, cold medicine. Oh, you have an earache, cold medicine. No, it's a matter of you take the medicine for the particular disease. So therefore, brahmacharya is best in that it's so simple. You don't get it doesn't have so many things to distract your time. But the point is if you have desires, they're already distracting your time. So therefore you engage them, after training. Next question.
Is it okay to go against one's ashram's nature and be a lifelong brahmachari to take advantage of direct devotional service?
But the point is how can you go against your nature and be a brahmachari? Because if you're successful as a brahmachari, and engaged and comfortable and all that, then what's the problem? The point is it goes down to what you can do. It's guna and karma. What can you do? Can you be a good brahmachari? Can you be a stable brahmachari? Can you do that full-time service all the time and be comfortable with that? If you can, then what's the problem? right? Because the point is as we said, brahmachari is technically a Brahminical ashram. So it doesn't matter what your background is. It means if someone's from a Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmin family, they're still doing the same thing. Sudama, Vipra, and Krishna, you know, one's from Brahminical and one's from Kshatriya, they're both going out and collecting firewood. They're both best friends. So the point is the activities are the same. That's it. The lifestyle is the same. So it doesn't matter. If you can absorb, so that means by your commitment to devotional service, you can function in that and be comfortable, then why not? What's the problem? Does that make sense?
If one is not stable in Brahmacharya ashram, how long he should continue training in Brahmacharya ashram to be stable before he moves to Grihastha ashram?
The point is why be stable? It means if he wants to be a Grihastha, he knows he wants to get married, but he wants to get trained as a brahmachari, then why not commit yourself? If you can't commit yourself to being trained as a brahmachari, how you be able to commit yourself to take care of family, you know, being involved in some economic enterprise, you know, or anything? Point is if you can't focus, you can't focus. So one needs to get it together. It means point is there. So you limit the time. If you just say, the difficulty comes up a lot of times in brahmacharya ashram because you just say, you move into the brahmacharya ashram, it's an eternal position. No, it's not. It means individuals choose to make it an eternal position, but for others, it's how you get trained. Everyone went to Gurukul. Krishna went to Gurukul. Balaram went to Gurukul. Lord Ramachandra went to Gurukul. Then they got married. So the point is it's just training, just like how you go to school. How long do you go to school? Well, actually, you know, you should be in school forever, you know, like this and that, you know, but I want to get a job and all that. Well, that's nonsense. You should just study for your whole life, you know, like that, study, you know, economics for your whole life. But what about using it? No, it's not about that. So the whole point is that it's part of the training, just like you have to have your degree, you know, your external degree to get your job. What about your training in ashram, right? We make a big stink about having qualification in Varna, but we make zero about ashram. Ashram's the spiritual. Varna is the social, but we take the social as the most important. In other words, we turn it upside down. That's the mode of ignorance. We have to know ashram is the primary and Varna is secondary. In other words, Varna supports ashram. That's its purpose. Right? You cook so you can eat. Right? That's the whole point. So if that's understood, that's appreciated, then one sees that one you know, puts in whatever is the necessary time and all that. I've slipped back, I think, into the previous question. What's this question again?
If one is not stable in Brahmacharya ashram.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. It's the stability. So the point is be focused, be stable, but then pick a time. You know, for 1 year, 2 years, be stable, be a good brahmachari. You know, 1 year's minimum. That's what we see as in vratas is recommended. Like vanaprastha is best as 12 years, and if not 12, then you know 8, and if not 8, then you know 4, then 2. Like if not 1, you know, so at least 1 year be a good brahmachari. 2, you'll find you get adjusted, and then the mind means the first year you'll physically get adjusted and other things, but the second year then mentally you get adjusted. So I would recommend is ideally is if you can do 2 years is good, but if you can do more it depends upon your age and your nature and what comes comfortably. But the point is it should be all out. It should be full. If you're going to do it for a year, 2 years, or 5 years, do it fully. Then go out, get married, and do that fully. Otherwise, if you're lazy as a brahmachari, you're going to be lazy grihastha. Point is, you have to focus. So therefore, yes, you do have to get up. You do have to get these things. Otherwise, if you can't get up as a brahmachari, how are you going to get up in the middle of the night to take care of your kid? You know, how are you going to be able to, you had plans for this or that, and now you got to take your kid to the doctor. You know, or, you know, you were thinking you were going to do this work, but your wife's having a meltdown. So therefore you have to put in the time to help her get through it. You know, so it's just, unless you're focused and able to deal with the moment, what should be done, you won't be able to use it anywhere else. So that's the point. Good brahmachari means he's focused and he does the needful. So therefore, get it together. Don't take this, well, I'll be that forever until I fall down or something like that. No, that's why it should be. There's a set amount of things for people to get trained in, and then after that, then you set, okay, another 5 years or another, and then you review it after that. Then you can progress through, and then you see is that there's those that they just naturally do that their whole life, and other people, if you know that I'm going to be a good brahmachari for, let's say, 2 to 5 years. And then after that, I can get married. You can really focus. It's just like in the morning. Let's say, you wake up in the morning and somebody goes, oh, today's a fast day. Right? Now the mind goes, oh, no, I wasn't expecting that and this and that. So what's the next question? How long is the fast? Are we fasting till noon? Are we fasting till, moonrise? Or are we fasting till midnight? And once now the mind can be focused. Okay, I'm fasting till noon. I can get right into it, chant my japa, no breakfast. I'm going to do some reading then or do some other services. And because at noontime you'll eat. So if after 5 years, I'm going to get married, then you can really be a good brahmachari for 5 years. But this system where you just go in and there's no end to it, the mind can't focus. That's why it goes crazy immediately. But if I'm doing this for this amount of time, then it's there. So whatever it is, you have to work out the system, how it is. People come in, do it for what? How you're comfortable with it. People can come in, let's say, during the summer vacation. They're in school and, there's no school for 2 months or so. They can come and live in the ashram, or there's, Diwali or this or that. They can come and live in the ashram, or the weekends, be weekend warriors or something. Then they get to see, is this something I can do and for how long? But this thing is you just come in and, join and throw away the key and all that and this and that. And then if there's a problem, oh, he fell down, or he's a nonsense, he's a this, he's a that. These are things we make up. No one else makes them up. We make these things up. Is there a problem? Was there a difficulty in discussing in the 3rd canto, we have Kardama Muni. He was a brahmachari, good brahmachari. And, he sees the Lord Vishnu and all that, but he asks about getting married. So did Vishnu immediately, what about nonsense, such a good brahmachari. I came here all the way myself, personally gave darshan, and you want to get married? Oh my God, what a waste of time. Like that, Sukadev Goswami is really kind of, should I tell this story and not? The guy's a bit of a bozo, it's like that, he did fall down, he didn't make it as a brahmachari, so, a bit useless and all that. And, and then Prahlad Maharaj, he's a grihasta, the Pandavas are grihastas. Oh my God, and then you got the gopis, oh my God, what stories can we tell? Okay, there's a few stories in 11th canto, and then let's see, Vidura talking to Maitreya, at least Maitreya is a brahmachari. Vidura at that time, he was married, but he was out, but so maybe Vanapras, maybe he can slip under the wire, like that. And and so therefore, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam is accomplished in 5 chapters. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. So we make up this thing that it's bogus to get married. It's kind of like that's pretty standard to get married, but it's standard to get married after being trained as a brahmachari. And then if someone can remain a brahmachari, that's very special, rather than making that's standard and then getting married is nonsense. We have to adjust that. Now, if it's a matter of, well, if anyone could get married, I want to get married. But the point is you still have to be a brahmachari to be married. So therefore, get it together and be a good brahmachari. So it doesn't change the position, Well, it's like, oh, everybody's just going to get a job. Why should I go to school? It's kind of like, if you don't go to school, you don't get a job. So, hey, so that's the whole point. You don't get trained as a brahmachari, you're not going to be a good grihasta. And if someone wasn't trained, they're a good grihasta. If they're from a good background, maybe they can work it out. I remember one grihasta telling me after 7 years, he finally figured out kind of his wife, the nature and how to deal, because he hadn't gone to Gurukul. But it took him 7 years. That's a lot of time. Next question.
Yesterday, you were mentioning in your class that I can work with whatever I have. With bananas, I can make banana shake. And later you mentioned, Maharaj, that only a good brahmachari can become a good grahastha. You mentioned the 6 qualities one learns in brahmacharya ashram. I am planning to get married, but then I do not find many good qualities in myself. I tend to compare myself as rotten bananas with others ripened mangoes. What can I do to improve upon and make the best use of whatever bananas Krishna has given me?
If you have rotten bananas, you can make compost. Right. So the point is that you just see what has to be done. Are you respectful to others? You have to learn to be respectful, because if you're not, your wife will not be pleased. If you don't respect your wife, she will make your life miserable. That's the whole point, is that you have to respect others. You don't respect your boss, he'll make your life. You don't respect the police, they'll make your life. Your neighbors, they'll make it. Everybody, if you can't respect people, you will have problems. At the same time as you have to respect yourself, and that this is the nature that Krishna gave, and you have to engage that nature. So it's not you, you're the soul, but you have to engage that. So the whole point is that it's not a matter of that. So you have to respect. You have to base things on the Shastra. Study the Shastra. Try to understand the Shastra. Try to develop understand, at least intellectually, that having a good service attitude is valuable, because you have to work, especially as a grihastha. So much work is that. Then you have to actually do the work. You actually have to apply yourself. And so, yes, that's what you have to do. You have to control your senses, because it's not that what you want to eat, when you want to eat, how you want to eat, it's going to happen. They can tell that to your mommy. Other than your mom, no one else is going to just listen to your uncontrolled senses and cater to it. And that's guaranteed, 100%. And that's only because they have that, they're kind to their kids. But wives are not moms. Wives are the women, and as we explained yesterday, the man is the man. But in your relationship with your mom, you're in the feminine position, they're in the masculine position, until you grow up, and then you take care of your mom. But if your mom's taking care of you, you're in the feminine, they're in the masculine. Don't think that that automatically translates into your wife. There's not a good exchange rate. So therefore, it doesn't work like that. So you have to control your senses like that. And then learning how to dress properly for the occasion, how to behave properly and all that, that's just proper common etiquette. It's just, these are basic things. So you have to understand that they are valuable, and you try your best. And the point is it's not that once you join Grihastha Ashram, you can't learn anymore. Grihastha Ashram, it means that once following that, they're called the Grihastha Brahmachari. It means that they're still engaged their senses in trying to understand Brahman, right? That's the meaning of a Brahmana. So therefore, that's Brahmacharya, right? So therefore, then you have to be able to see that element. And so you'll spend the whole rest of your life learning. Even your Naistika Brahmachari, you still are learning every day. Every time you read, you learn something new. Every time you do the service, there's something new to learn. So because we're sat, that means the knowledge, sat chit, the knowledge potency is there. And so therefore, learning things, knowing things, that's just standard for us. So it's your whole life. So you're trying to get enough foundation that therefore you have something to work with in trying to learn as a grihastha. Well, if you have nothing, then it makes you don't have any background. It makes it more difficult. That's all. Not that you can't work it out, but it's much more difficult.
Next few questions are asked from congregation. So just
yes.
In our daily household activities, it is difficult to remember Krishna. So how we should improve in this direction?
Means that household activities of why you're doing them. If we're seeing it as Krishna's house, then we're keeping the house clean for Krishna, and we're cooking for Krishna and the devotees. So we're taking care of Krishna's devotees by, seeing that they're physically and mentally and all this taken care of. So you just have to always take it back that everybody is connected to Krishna. Everyone being a devotee is connected to Krishna. The house is Krishna's, money is Krishna. So if it's Krishna's money, it should be spent properly. So you don't buy something that's useless. You don't waste it. You good investment. In other words, how much return it will give in the way of things. So just like, let's say on a daily basis, you spend too much money on the food, it doesn't have any meaning, because no one will appreciate it. But you see, it's like people are, have their regular diet, and then occasions, guests come, or special occasions, they cook nice, or there's a wedding, people go all out, And so then doing that, then people remember the wedding food, you know, but if every day you eat fancy, who remembers it? So you have to see where to apply the money, where not, you know? So that's the whole thing, you know, so you have to be able to figure that out. You know, you have the Lamborghini, you know, okay, nice, but who really cares? Because you can't get around one of those bumps on the road in Calcutta or one pothole, you're screwed, you know? So you better have a regular car, you know, that goes over the bumps nicely, you know? That's a waste of money. Bombay and a Ferrari or Lamborghini. That's, of course, you know, there's that road between Bombay and Pune, you know, that highway, and people go out there and get themselves killed. So if you want to kill yourself on that highway, you know, then you can go out in style, get yourself a Ferrari, you know? But otherwise, then you get something that's useful. You don't waste your money because it's Krishna's money. You know, he's given it to you to use, but you still, it's your quota, but still you have to properly use it and properly support devotional service. Okay, next question.
What about women? What is their service? Assist in the husband's service and give up whatever inclinations she may have. Previously, marriages were between same varnas, so more or less children had the gunas of that particular to that varna. How does that work in present times?
See, is that present means what's happening right now. So let's say we go back 5,000 years. So what Krishna and everybody's doing is right now in the present. Let's say we go back, you know, a few more, you know, millennia. And what they're doing, Harish Chandra, he's doing what's right now. You go back more than the Prajapati, what's going on right now. So this idea of that the present now is so unique and different from any time else. It's the same time. Are the laws of God different now than they were before? Gravity doesn't work now. It's called the Yuga. Gravity doesn't work now. Water's not wet. You know, fire's not hot. You know, we don't breathe air. You know, like that. You know, it's like that. We don't walk on our feet. We walk on our hands. You know, what's changed? The same exact laws that are there and given in Mana, they're there today. You follow them, they work. You don't follow them, you get trouble. You know, you can say, oh, the modern society doesn't follow, but look at all the trouble they're getting, right? 75% divorce rate, that's because they don't follow. You follow, it works. It's not about, oh, times are different. No, it's the same laws of nature. Religion doesn't change because it's Kali Yuga. You know, the focus may change. Get to the essence, chant Hare Krishna. But the point is the laws of Krishna don't change. So therefore, it means when you say in the present day, why aren't you seeing that the natures are similar between people getting married? If you're not, that's nonsense. I'll say that. You want me to? I'll say that. It is nonsense. In other words, this idea, oh, we're devotees, we just chant, we don't care for these things. That's just false ego. Just straight up from false ego. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says devotees, then when they get married, you marry within your nature, even within your community. You know, there was a thing in Chopati. There was a Marwari boy and a Gujarati girl getting married. It was a whole thing. He didn't want to marry her because he said, I hate sweet dal. So they actually had to write a contract that she'll never cook sweet dal. If she goes to the relatives, she'll get salty dal. Yeah. So the whole point is as long as they're of equal nature, then okay, it works. These are small differences. I'm just giving it as an example. But the point is why would you do that? Why would out of false ego you marry a Brahmin boy to a Shudra girl or this or that just because we can? We're devotees and see we're independent. This is just false ego. The point is those of equal nature marry each other. Therefore, and that you have to see is that devotional kind of value is there. How they're going to live, the same kind of economic background, you know, what is going to be there, how many kids, how the kids will be educated. One says Gurukul, one says Harvard, you know, one says we're going to have, you know, crores, and one says we're just going to be simple. You know what I'm saying? One sense we're going to have, you know, sex to have children. The other one's, well, no, we're going to have sex 10 times a day. You know, so you have to work these things out. So unless you're looking at charts and seeing that the charts match, then you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Prabhupada said you check the charts on these things. Because it just says what you do. The body, gross material body and subtle body, these are material. You have to see that they match. They're not marrying the souls. You understand that you're not marrying the souls. You're marrying conditioned nature. So if they don't match, maybe that's why you're having problems there. Because everybody thinks, oh, we just chant and that's all. No. You know, Vaishya nature marries Vaishya nature. Kshatriya, Kshatriya, Brahman, Brahman. You know, you don't have to take that far. You just check the charts. It has its things and it shows what matches. It has to be above 50%. And what's missing, you know, because 92 is the top you can get. So 50 is the minimum, 92 is the maximum. Then you have to see what's missing. What's the weakness? And then you have to see that they can live with those weaknesses. I've seen charts where it's a good match, but the place where it's weak is something that a person can't tolerate. So therefore, that's the wrong one. Find somebody else that one's there, because you have so many options. So what is this thing is, oh, it's in the present age. What is this nonsense? You know, you live in a big city and now you don't have to follow God's laws. What are you talking about? You know, what's special about Pune? You know? So you have to get it together, is that you have to look at what is the nature. It's not just all this, oh yeah, we just chat. Oh, look at this, I married this guy to that, oh, aren't I cool? Yeah, and then you wonder why they get divorced. You know, so I've seen two people from exact similar Marwari backgrounds get married, and the chart wasn't that great. It's not one of these, you know, 90%. It was, you know, quite low, but because exactly the same value, what they eat's exactly the same chapati for this occasion, this dal for that occasion, exactly the same community. So from that way, just day to day, what they wear, when you're going out to the party, what you'd wear, exactly the same. But there's nothing that they agree on. If you sit there and have a conversation with that, one says one thing, the other one will disagree with it. Everything. I mean, lock, stock, and barrel, except for devotional service, of course. And so it's funny, but because of their background and because of their values, that they're married, they'll never separate, and that it's a great marriage. But their background is the same community. So you can say, oh, that's bodily consciousness. Then why the hell are you getting married? Stop this. I'm a Paramahamsa when it gets married. You're getting married because you have to deal with material needs. And the point is if you have the wrong person, they won't be addressed. So we have to move on from this. Yes, you're trying to find those who it matches nicely. You see the closest you can get. And even if it's a perfect marriage, even if it's 92%, still, if they don't apply themselves, it's just like you give the guy a good car. It doesn't mean if he's a bad driver, he can drive it nicely. Or you give him first-class ingredients, but he's not a good cook, that he can cook it properly. So people have to try. They have to put in effort to make the marriage work. But you have to know that you have to start with as close as possible. Like that, you know? Couples marry or fight over the smallest things. So keep it small. Don't let it be big. You know, Prabhupada says goats, they sit there and fight, butt heads. But as soon as somebody goes, hut, then they run off. But dogs, they fight it. You can go up there with a stick and start beating them and they'll keep fighting. That's a real fight. Goats aren't a fight. So therefore, husband and wife, it's not a real fight. It's just the nature of masculine and feminine. They like to fight with each other. So you have to know what you're dealing with. And stop all this, oh, we're devotees, it doesn't matter, and all that. It kind of like, great, okay. So just, okay, take this bhakta here and take him and make him the CEO in your company. Oh, but he doesn't know anything about business. No, but he's a devotee. Devotee is the real thing. Come on, why are you being so bodily conscious? You know, get real. This so-called, we're great Paramahamsas when it comes to marriage. And then brahmachari, oh, grihastha, oh, we're Paramahamsas. Brahmachari, oh. Get it together. Next question. So therefore, why does the wife have to give, what does this mean, give up her desires? What does that mean? She's a woman, she's entering into a marriage with a man. The man's getting into a marriage because he's marrying a woman. It's not about the occupation. You guys make it about it's the occupation is the real life. But there's a saying in America, in English, called get a life. Life comes in ashram. Varna is not a life. That's how you support it. So if you're career oriented and that's all you have, you need to get a life. That's called ashram. So what does that mean? She has to give up her desires. You know, I mean, you know, what does that mean? You know, it's just follow the husband. Why it's always that? That sounds like a man's question. The point is that she has her nature. She's doing her thing she does. He does what he does. And they cooperate together. It's about cooperation. What does that mean? She has to give up everything. And what is he giving up? So the point is the wife has to follow the husband. What's he giving up? So if he gives up, she gives up. He doesn't give up, she won't give up. He's not, like I remember one Indian gentleman telling me, because I noticed he was speaking very pleasantly with his family, you know, and the words and how he does. He said, if I don't speak nice, they won't speak nice. If he's rough, they'll be rough. He's nice, they're nice. That's how it works. Now, of course, the men always make the mistake because they can be nice or not nice with their mommy, and their mommy will always deal with them how they want to be dealt with. But that's mommy. You have to understand. That's the limit of where it functions. Okay. Next question.
What is the importance of and difference between Pancharatra and Bhagavata? Often in ISKCON, we find a lot of emphasis on hearing and chanting, sometimes at the cost of quality of worship up to their lordships.
But not at the expense of management, right? So the whole point is that Bhagavat is the primary, then Pancharatra is the secondary, and the Vedic is the tertiary. That's just how it works. So hearing and chanting is the main thing. But the point is how does Krishna say in the Gita? He says, best option is you surrender to me right now, this nanosecond. And we see the gopis did it, Maharaj Khatvanga did it, you know, the wives of the Yogic Brahmins did it. So it is a possibility. What's the next option? He says, if you can't do that, then you follow the rules and regulations of devotional service. That's called Pancharatra. Right? And then he says, if that's not enough, then you engage yourself in a variety of activities, you know, without detachment. That's Naishkarmya, that's Varnashram. Then if you can't do that, then you engage in Varnashram and Sakam. It's all yours. You're the Lord of all your survey. Now give something to Krishna. Right? So the whole point is it's right there in Gita. Surrender to Krishna. So always be hearing and chanting, always be absorbed in Krishna. Always remember, never forget. Now, our lifestyle, I don't want to blow anyone's mind here, is Pancharatric. Getting up in the morning, offering obeisances to the spiritual master, rolling up your bed, putting it away, going to the toilet, cleaning yourself, brushing your teeth, then taking your bath, then sitting down, putting tilak, putting on, you know, all that, chanting Gayatri and all that, wearing neck beads, wearing the sika and all that, putting on your dhoti and chadar and that, going to the temple, ringing the bell, offering obeisances, you know, attending Mangalarti. Then after there's the puja and all that. Then there's Guru Puja. Then there's the Tulsi Puja. Then there's Charinamrita. There's hearing Bhagavatam. There's taking prasad. Then there's services during the day. Then you have the same kind of thing in the evening. Then you're going to sleep and offering your whatever you did today for the Krishna. That is 100% Pancharatra. So Pancharatra is how to regulate Bhagavat so that you do it. Otherwise, we said that you should do all these things and there's no schedule, they won't get done. Prabhupada introduced it in 1980 because he saw devotees weren't regularly reading and doing stuff. So they were going on Harinam, but they weren't taking full advantage. So after that, now they follow the regulated Pancharatric lifestyle and went out in Harinam. And so Varnashram is there as we need it. Community means Varnashram. So therefore, we have to introduce it. All this stuff, oh, we're devotees, we don't care for it. Then don't be grihastas, don't live under a tree. If you're going to be making money, that's Varnashram. Varna means making money. We have to wake up to our and quit using this, oh, I'm so advanced kind of thing. You know, we're given the highest, but we're not the highest. So we have to know our position. We have to know without regulation, you will not advance. So therefore, the Bhagavat means you're always absorbed in Krishna. So you're regulating that, you're always, but it's spontaneous, right? Like that. That's the whole point. So then you have to be able to be able to do that. So Bhagavat means this. Raga is defined as the tendency of the mind to become spontaneously attracted to an object immediately on seeing it without intellectual processing. That's Bhagavat. The holy name, you just absorbed. See that you just absorbed. So these 5 elements of the 5 main points of devotional service, you're just naturally absorbed in that. That's Rag. Otherwise, you follow Pancharatra, which regulates that Mangalartics at this time, this is that. You sit here for japa and all that. You can sit in the temple at any time of the day and chant. But our people, no. But you just find after Mangalarti to Guru Puja, they're sitting there. Why? That's Pancharatra. And the Vedic means now you have the sense engagement of the senses beyond what's going on in the Pancharatra and the deity worship. Like that, you know, even Brahmins are doing the deity worship, but they're just absorbed in that, you know, like full-time pujaris. But then when it gets beyond that, you know, making money or different social things, then Varnashram, it engages that. That's what it's for. Know what we're dealing with. Okay, next thing.
Maharaj, what about training for girls or women? How can we be trained as good brahmacharinis within ISKCON so that we can become good grahasthas and vanaprasthas?
I mean, the natural thing is that the difference is boys, unless they're taken out of the grihastha environment, they don't become conscious. You know, I've made many references to the boys being attached to their mommy and how their mom deals with them. That's because they're in the household environment all the time. So they just see that as standard. So they're unaware. Like, it's a very common mistake. It's kind of a cliche and all that men don't have any idea how the clothes get washed, how the house get cleaned, anything like that. They have no idea. They take off their clothes and all, and when they come back, they're not on the floor anymore, but they're in the drawer, all folded up nicely. They never make the connection. So until they go to the brahmacharya ashram, away from the home, away from their mother, right? Then they go there, then they find out they have to wash their clothes themselves. Oh, that's how it works. They have to hang it up themselves. They have to, you know, they do the cooking, they do the serving, they do the eating, they wipe the floor afterwards, they take care of the temple, they do all these things. Then they become aware. So then when they become grihastha, now they respect what their wife's doing. Right? Otherwise, then they're just kind of a waste of time. Okay, great. As drones, they're okay. You know, you need something to create children. But other than that, then that's basically, you know, no importance. So, you know, like you see in bee culture, drones sit around all day and then they impregnate the queen and then they're killed. Right? You know. And so, yeah, if that's what you want. But the point is that you appreciate, you can do these things because you can wash the clothes. Therefore, she's happy to wash the clothes. But if you can't wash clothes, it makes her annoyed. Because then why should she wash it? You can't wash, so why should she wash? But you can, but you're doing other things like going out, making the money or this or that. She's happy to wash clothes. You can cook, therefore she likes to cook. You appreciate her cooking. She's inspired to cook. You know, you notice she dresses nicely, therefore she's inspired to dress nicely. You know, you're considerate of her, therefore these things happen. So the whole point is that's why brahmacharis have to be in the brahmacharya ashram. But the girls, they're always conscious. In other words, boys tend to be unconscious. They have to be trained to be conscious. But girls are always conscious from 2, 3 years now, 2 years old. They already like carrying around babies and taking care and taking this and putting them in the pram and doing all that. They're already aware of what they are, who they are, what they're going to do. So the whole point is therefore in that environment, they can be shown how then all that is by proper behavior, proper character. Like I remember seeing one Brahmin family. You know, and of Brahmins, they weren't just the regular Brahmins. They were, I think there's like 4 levels of Brahmins in the South. So they were the top level. So whatever that is, you know, and so then this is before the girl can talk, right? The daughter, you know, whenever they're explaining to her, she explained, no, don't do that. That's not chaste. I mean, not chaste means it's not proper behavior. So chastity means proper behavior. Nowadays, chastity means you're not in bed with someone other than your husband. That's it. That's the limit of it. But the Vedic chastity means you behave nicely. You're focused on things like that. So the boy's learning to behave nicely, and she's learning. And then at one point, the penny drops, and it goes, oh, okay, that's the other aspect of chastity. So it's just one part of being cultured. So being cultured, how to do these things, how to do all these things. Yes, you can be professional, this and that, but why does that mean you can't cook? You know, why does that mean you can't dress? Why does it mean you can't take it? Well, that's very retarded. You know, we're saying that, oh, the men, oh, you can't take care of the baby, you can't cook and that's nonsense. But if the girls do that, then that's somehow another perfection. Either cooking's good or it's not good. So, you know, he cooks and she doesn't, then why is that okay? But if she cooks and he doesn't, oh, that's exploitation and this and, you know, white male supremacy and all that, even though maybe in Pune it's not that many white males, but don't worry, it's going to go back to that, you know, like that. And so it's just, you know, these things are all just nonsense. The point is that training means character, learning what is the character. So the boys have to be taken out of the home to develop character. The girls can learn character in the home. Then if you can have further programs where girls come together that, you know, they can't learn in the home, and some senior ladies try to take them through and show them these things, how to do all these things and how to do nicely, then even better, nicely. I mean, in the beginning in the temples, there was a brahmacharini ashram. You know, at time then the communities and all that, you know, because their families weren't connected, but now families are devotees, so they can train them and teach them. But if it's a matter, go out, get a job, get this and that, okay, that's all right. And that's always been there in the Sindhi community, but you know, then their values also is women drink hard liquor and smoke cigarettes, you know, like that. So the whole point is that she wants to do all these things, great, but that doesn't mean why can't she take care of the family? That means why be married if you're not going to take care of the family? You know, if the husband can't take care of the wife and kids, or the wife can't take care of the husband and kids, and the kids, you know, are not respectful of the parents, what's the point? That's where Chanakya says, better to go to the forest. So yeah, I mean, girls getting trained, that's a very good thing, but they also have to be aware themselves. Okay, who does cook nice? Go to them, learn. Go ask them how to dress. Who dresses nicely? Go find out from them how to dress. Prabhupada in the beginning, when the devotees came to India, he told the ladies, now you go into the, you know, they were staying at people's house, go into the inside of the house where the ladies are and find out how to do all these things. And they'd learned a little bit cooking and this and that, but it wasn't really disseminated. And other things they never learned, like, you know, things like how often do you wash your hair? Like that means, you know, we in Hungary and some Western, like, how often do we wash our hair? And it's kind of like, you know, why don't you know that? You know? So the whole point is these are the things to learn, not just, you know, how to, you know, get top marks and get a like that and become the CEO. Okay, great, but the CEO doesn't have a family. CEO, that family doesn't eat. You know? So I mean, if you want to do it equal, it's like in China, like that. Whoever comes home first, they cook. You know, or if it's a big program, then the men cook. You know, and when then it's a small program, the women cook. And you know, it's a, you know, she's busy in the office extra time, he cooks. You know, she's busy, you know, he's busy, she cooks. It's just like, you know, then do it like that, you know. But the point is that this is, oh, I'm not going to do it, and the men aren't going to do it, and then nothing happens, and that's why you end up with weird kids, neurotic kids. Okay, next point.
Maharaj, we see conversions taking place around us. How we should react to that aspect?
Conversions.
I think so. This is mainly regarding to Christian conversion.
The whole point is that we have what we do. So why not preach? Why are they becoming converted? Because we're not preaching to them. You know, we're too busy about our systems and other things like that, and why he's in charge and why not that, rather than going out and preaching. So what do you care? Preach. At least Christianity, they're monotheistic, you know. Okay, next.
Is it that tomatoes are not good for brahmacharis to eat? We have heard that in Mayapur Gurukul, they have tomatoes and they have items like pasta, which has tomatoes.
So then they should have the pasta with pesto, with basil sauce and no tomatoes. Is that what you're saying? Tomatoes. Tomatoes, there's not a problem with that for brahmacharya. Tomatoes, the Ayurveda doesn't like them so much because they disturb all three doshas. They do have some good points that they do, but at the same time as they also disturb all three doshas. So it's a general thing. It has nothing to do with brahmacharya. Brahmacharya, it's eggplant. You want to know what's brahmacharya? Eggplant, green chilies eaten raw, and tamarind. And that's the unaged tamarind. You know, when you take the tamarind, they roll it in the balls and salt and put it in the jars and let it for 6 months. That tamarind doesn't. So there's a chemical in these three that's bad for brahmacharis. That's why you see in no ashram around India are these three used in that way. You know, so therefore, that if you're from South and you use that, then you use aged tamarind. You know, the black stuff. Like that, you know, and then green chilies, you have to fry them properly. Don't eat them raw, you know. And what was the third one? Eggplant. Use it sparingly. You don't use it as every day, you know. And I've heard if you deep fry it, then it loses that quality. But when it's just boiled, you get the full benefit. So that's not great for brahmachari. So that we're very careful of in the Gurukul. But tomatoes, I never heard that that's a Brahma. It's in the same family, but just because it's in the same family doesn't mean that these families are created by Western biology, right? So deadly nightshades in the same family. So are potatoes, you know, so is bell peppers, you know, so therefore that's all nightshades by the modern context. But in the Vedic, I don't think that they're counted like that. So they have their very specific thing. So therefore, then, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it like that. And now and again, you cook some pasta. Just don't overcook the pasta and make it into mush.
Maharaj, yesterday's list is exhausted of questions. We have got many.
Okay, great.
So if you wish.
Well, kind of the problem is we're a bit near the time. How many more questions do you have?
Maharaj, maybe around 10 more.
Whew. That's a light. Okay, we'll do one or two and then we'll stop. So pick from there what you want.
Maharaj, just a minute. Maharaj, what is your suggestion for a homosexual devotee who has no attraction to opposite sex but have that for the same sex?
Well, one I say devotee that senior devotee that had that kind of background, his point was homosexual or heterosexual, what does it matter if you're celibate? So if you're celibate, then what's the problem? If you're not celibate, then live outside the temple. Don't live in the temple. Point is if you're going to be in an active homosexual relationship, live out in the community. And whenever you can come to the temple and behave yourself, you know, then do your service. You know, but if it's not an active homosexual relationship, then what does it matter where one is? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because the point is what's the difference here? You know, nowadays there's no distinction made because what is the bottom line? Bottom line, sex, right? So then the idea is sex is the determining factor, what you have sex with, right? So, but the difficulty comes down is that's not the Vedic consideration. The Vedic consideration is children. Therefore, husband and wives that have equal nature make children that are of equal nature. And so sex is, believe it or not, the medium that actually generates the children. So if it's only for the sensual pleasure of that, which you'll find if it's not the, you know, for children or like this, that's what's not recommended. But now between husband and wife, man and woman, you know, means actually, you know, how you say the cisgenders, that they actually have a male genitalia and female genitalia like that, you know, don't want to get too weird here, but the thing is that they'll be attracted by that, but at least if they stick to only having sex with their partner, then in that way, it's the broadest range of not illicit sex. So in other words, The tightest of no illicit sex is only having sex with your own partner for children, and the broadest is only have sex with your partner. You know, it doesn't say, you know, how many times a day, just only that. When you go outside of that, they're not your partner, you're not met, then that's where the problem comes. And so now, when we get into the homosexual element, then the only purpose is sense gratification. And so that's why it's a distraction. And so that's why it's not recommended. But if one is absorbed in that, then you live with your partner wherever it is that you want to live, and you know, without showing off that, you come to the temple. It's just like, let's say we had a homosexual parade, right? All the homosexuals get out and they walk around with their muscles, and they got their half-dressed girls, you know, with their boobs hanging out. Yeah, we're heterosexuals. Yeah. People would go, oh, this is nonsense. But the gays walk out on the street. Oh, this is so liberal and so forward thinking. It's nonsense. The point is sex is sex. So you want to have this kind of, have it at home. When you come to the temple, no one should know about it. You know, I mean, you can say, oh no, but then I'm not being my real self. But is that the heterosexual? Oh, hey, hi, how are you? I'm a heterosexual. You know, oh, okay, yeah, well, I'm a bit metrosexual myself, but yeah, I can relate, you know, like that, you know. Is that how it goes? No. So why do you have to tell anybody? You know, what's this thing? You have to be in everybody's face. It's like vegans, you know, they have to let you know they're a vegan. You never met them before and they have to tell you they're a vegan. You know, vegetarians, you can go for years and not know the guy's a vegetarian because they're comfortable. The vegans, it has to be in your face. So yeah, so then the whole point is that do that on your own time. And then when it's Krishna's time, then be engaged nicely. You know, be celibate. Does that make sense?
Yes, Maharaj, can you please tell us what should be the mood of a follower when superiors make some managerial decision in following? Because sometimes we may not like those decisions, or they may appear silly or not mature. So what should be my response as I see the atmosphere of not following or making fun of such decisions, or even speaking negative about it to everyone?
But the point is okay, just start from the back about making fun of it to everyone. What's our business to make fun of it to everyone? Are we the you know, the how you say, the self-appointed generalissimo of you know, management according to how I see it? And therefore, if it's different from that, then I'm going to tell everybody. It's between you and that manager. You don't like it, talk to him. You either talk to him or do it. But what's this? I go to talk to everybody else. What's that for? To make yourself feel better. Oh, he told me to do that, but isn't that stupid? Why? The acharyas point out, I think it's Jiva Goswami points out that the reason that we like to criticize others is that it makes us in a superior position. I'm better because I found fault. I found fault, like in the modern academy. As long as no one can poke a hole in your theory, it's good. As soon as they poke a hole, it's thrown out. And the guy who poked the hole, now he's the new acharya. You know? So that's the whole thing, is why do we need to tell him? You don't like it, you either go talk to him and find out why, or do it. Where's this third option that we have is I talk to others, I tweet about it, I this, that, and I make everybody, you know about that. This is nonsense. That's just gossip. That's prajalpa. It's non-devotional. And if you want to know why people fall down and go away and that, this is it. Of all the 4 kinds of anarthas, kutinati is the worst. Right? Because they're fault finding, not that they're benefiting the person they're finding the fault in. They don't have responsibility to benefit. They're just doing it for their own false ego. That's all. So kutinati, fault finding. There's no reason. It's not like the teacher finding a weakness in the student and pointing it out so that they get better. This is just you're finding fault and just telling everybody, and then they're all laughing, and then you're enjoying. See, aren't I great? I'm smarter than him because I pointed out the fault and everybody else agrees with me. Aren't I fabulous? So we have to move on beyond these low class, you know, uncultured, non-devotional ways of thinking and behaving. In other words, you either get it together now, or the veneer that you guys are so fabulous is going to dissipate and no one will want to listen to you guys again. So these are common material things. But then what about the thing that you guys present yourself? You're the cat's meow. You got the best system, the best this, the best that. But all this is going on underneath and you don't talk about it. And not only you don't talk about it, you don't even deal with it. So now after 20 years, it's coming up and biting you in the backside because you didn't take care of it 20 years ago. So the thing is whatever it is, the reason you do it one way, they do it another. It's just like a cook. I read a recipe. I never follow the recipe. I get a general idea from the recipe, this and that, but I'll add in, well, I'll add this, or I'll do that, or I'll fry and this and that, and I'll do it the way I want to do it. I don't know it at all. I'll follow the recipe exactly until I understand the techniques that are going on. Then you make your variety. So yes, if you're such a fabulous manager, but why can't you see what angle he's coming from? Why it's got to be childish or foolish or this or that? Is it working? The temple's there. Look at the size of that temple that you're sitting in right now. That came because of foolishness. That came because of childishness. Get it together. Just remember, no one likes middle management. In the corporate world, everyone hates middle managers. The bosses hate them because they're so proud, and the general workers hate them because they're so proud, because they think that they are the cat's meow. Get it together. Move on from this conditioning. That's one of the major difficulties we see in India taking up this preaching, is because they're so proud of their good birth, their good knowledge, their good, legal position, their beauty and all that. And because of that, they think that they're so fabulous. And then they just make so much mistakes. And because of that, they end up as white dogs in Switzerland. So you got to get it together at one time and move on from these bodily concepts. And on the other time, oh, we don't have to follow the Vedic rules because we're chant Hare Krishna. Then why these things come up? Oh, we're just being practical here. No, you're not. This is called prajalpa. You have a problem, go talk to that person, that authority, and ask them, why do you want to do it in this way? And then suggest maybe this way, maybe that way. That's your duty. Now you can't say, well, what if he doesn't accept? That's his business. You do your business. Right? Yudhishthira did his business, even though Dhritarashtra was not doing his. That's why there's Mahabharata. So you can learn that. You good?
Maharaj,
Yeah.
Radhishandas here. Thank you so much for such a very enlightening presentation, Maharaj. Last 2 days, we actually wanted to have more of your association. I will connect with you through one of the devotees, Panduranga Sharanpur from Pune. And we want to have one more Bhagavatam class and one Brahmachari class by you. In future, we will check your time slot availability and everything.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's that they just have to work it out with them, because then he knows it goes back, because there's one devotee who coordinates all these things for the academy. Any of the Zoom things for the devotees in the academy are doing, they organize that.
Yes,
so it has to be connected back to them.
Maharaj, one of the very striking observations I made in your presentations is you are able to help us out with some of the very practical, down-to-earth queries along with examples and illustrations. You give such an amazing blend of Shastra with ISKCON situation, which I feel is extremely rare, because we hear a lot of Shastra, many lectures, pastimes, details about Acharyas, everything we hear. But the way you present was very valuable for us. And probably I feel that it can move many stumbling blocks in the lives of the various devotees, both brahmacharis and grihasthas. And therefore, we would like to hear more from you for many of the queries the devotees would like to ask. Especially about Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Varna and Ashrama, you explained very beautifully. And the role of male and female who needs attention, that was very nicely explained. And also the authority subordinate working. And one observation I made is you are always very constructive in approach, whether one is a subordinate, one is a superior, whoever one be. and a very, very positive approach in every. The way you handled the homosexual question was so amazing. It's such a very practical answer which doesn't defeat the devotional service, which protects the devotional service along with answering their conditioning. And in this way, many of the queries were very maturely handled, and we are very thankful to you, Maharaj. Actually, many of our devotees in our ashram hear your lectures very regularly. In fact, daily they hear, and they have been immensely benefiting. And I also got many of your transcriptions, which I'm going through. So I'm very thankful to you for taking out your valuable time in the last 2 days, and we are looking forward for more of your holy association, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jai Ho. Jai Ho. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My
Isala
pleasure.
Bhakti Vidya Purna
My pleasure.
Maharaj ki.
Jai Ho. In other words, you have that thing of that book of Prabhupada's, perfect questions, perfect answers. So if
Yeah.
there's not proper questions, how do you have a nice conversation? So your devotees are thoughtful in that, because they are engaged nicely in devotion. They sometimes forget to deal with like Rupa Goswami says, don't neglect ordinary dealings. They tend to forget that because they can work on a higher level. So, but they have to take care of that also. Otherwise, now they're starting to bother them. So like that. So they give very good questions. That's why it's always nice to discuss.
Thank you,
with
Maharaj.
devotees. Haribol, Hare Krishna, Jai Thak,
Haribol.
Jai Thak, Haribol.
Yogalesham Prabhu.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Any announcement you want to make?
No, Prabhuji. Done.